But let's take a look at where the numbers are at on this Monday, according to Nanos Research, putting the Liberals in the lead with just under 43%. The Conservatives are at just under 38%. The NDP are at just under 8%. The poll shows Mark Carney is still in the lead as preferred choice of Prime Minister with just shy of 50% support. Pierre Poilievre is just above 32% support. Jagmeet Singh not really in the running here at 4.4%. Let's bring in Conservative strategist Jamie Ellerton with his take on this. So there's a lot going on here, as always. The Conservatives catching up with the Liberals a little bit, plus all the turmoil on the markets, Donald Trump's trade war. Where do we stand here? 3 weeks to go, my friend.
Tom, I think there's still a lot of campaign here. As you just said, there is a lot going on. I think what you're seeing in the numbers this week is really just a reflection of Mark Carney's honeymoon kind of coming to an end. I think you're starting to see some of the negatives of what he's had to say come through. I think you're also starting to see some of the inconsistencies when people look at the reality of what Donald Trump is doing. You're seeing the markets tank as these tariffs are very real, and markets are reacting when people start to say, hey, what's going to be best for the economy going forward, contrasting what the Conservative vision is to get pipelines of resources to market and to really enable kind of building in Canada, to the C-69 being kept in place by Mark Carney. And of course, yes, Justin Trudeau's cabinet, who have had all these policies that have made it hard for things to get reviewed fast. I'm starting to think that contrast is setting through to the electorate, and why you're starting to see Liberal numbers and Carney favorable start to dip.
Yeah, I'm also curious, you know, today in British Columbia, the NDP were not there. They were in Ontario, but the Conservatives were there, and so were the Liberals. And the Conservatives really talking about the idea of Canadian resources, Jamie, oil and gas, and just the red tape and bureaucracy and lengthy delays that it takes to actually get Canadian product to market. And that certainly seems to be something, well, it's important in that part of British Columbia, of course, but it's also important for Alberta, Saskatchewan, and for the Canadian economy as well.
Yeah, let's not forget it. The Trudeau government had a bill that was essentially struck down by the Supreme Court that said their duplicative and excessive environmental assessment law was found unconstitutional and overbearing in what the provinces can do. And so I think when you look at how hard it is to get anything built in this country, Pierre Poilievre is offering a very concrete solution with a streamlined effort that would look to identify priority projects that are ready. These are projects that, of course, have received millions of dollars in private sector investment. And this is just getting government out of the way so that these people can do what they do while maintaining serious environmental standards and regulations, but not tangling them up in perpetuity in red tape.
When it comes to the Trump factor, the narrative we're now hearing from Pierre Poilievre is the following. Look, you know, Trump is you know, obviously doing a lot of harm. We disagree, but the policies of Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney have not helped either. Is that going to resonate with voters? Are they seeing the Liberals as being partially to blame for all this chaos?
That's definitely the picture that the Conservatives are trying to paint. I think when you look at some of the events you're seeing with the electorate, Todd, let's be real. Canadians are not following the minutiae of every single federal government decision and every law that passes Parliament through every stage of the legislative process over the past 10 years. And so I think what you're seeing is Conservatives are putting front and center the 10-year record of Justin Trudeau's government, of which all the cabinet ministers sworn in with Prime Minister Carney are from that team and their policies, and saying, hey, these are the people who have literally tied Canada's economy, the hands to Canada's economy behind their back. And now they're telling you they've had a deathbed conversion just because they want your vote. And when you contrast with what Mark Carney's saying, that he's going to keep some of these things in place, it's saying, why are we doing this to ourselves when we need to actually unleash Canadian productivity? So when you look at the Donald Trump vote, I think the fact you saw the Conservatives also release an ad this week that President Trump has said he'd rather work with Mark Carney because he wants to do a deal with Liberals, and he doesn't like Pierre Poilievre. You see Conservatives trying to push back on some of the frame that the Conservative Party is beholden to the Republicans, and instead, no, it's actually Mark Carney who Donald Trump wants to deal with. This is very much an open air war. Part of this is taking place in the media. Part of it's taking place at grassroots events that campaigners are doing locally, as well as with the Leaders Tour, and also a lot of it's playing out in ads online that a lot of people aren't seeing unless it's the algorithms feeding it up to you directly.
I love it. Jamie Ellerton, Conservative strategist. Thanks for that, my friend.